What's going on, everybody? Welcome to episode 18 of Get Bucked. I am your host, Ryan Anderson. And as usual, I get to be joined by my co-host, Jackson Muniz. Jackson, how's it going?
Going good, man. Quiet.
Awesome.
It's calm before the storm before opening day at Santa Anita. So I'm
absolutely. They just drew the card. The opening day looks incredible. So obviously we will get some shows geared towards that. But first, I would like to, we got a bit of a special show today. Those of you who might be more, visual handicappers or just want another edge to your game, we are going to be doing a deep dive into OptixEQ with none other than our friend Frank Scatoni. Frank, how are you doing?
I'm doing okay, man. I'm getting over a little bit of a cold. Supposed to be recharging my batteries for Santa Anita, but here I am singing for my supper. You guys are putting me to work.
Got putting you to work a little bit. It's going to be a really interesting show, though. I'm personally very excited. I love learning new tools of how to handicap for this game that all of us clearly love. So we're going to be doing a deep dive into OptixEQ. Why don't you just kind of give us a quick rundown about what this is and how you kind of got started with it?
Yeah, well, anyone who's been following me for years knows that I won't make a bet, and I won't put anything in print without verifying it with OptixEQ. It's the brainchild of a man named John Doyle, and for all you young folk out there, John Doyle is an NHC champion. I forget which year he won, but he won the granddaddy of them all. He won the big NHC championship, and just one of the smartest and sharpest and hardest working and ambitious person I've met in the industry. And John and I became friends because I was the editor of Horse Player magazine. And the tradition was every year after the NHC was over, we'd do a sit down, deep interview with the winner. So based on that, John and I became friends. He started to come out to Del Mar, and we became a lot closer. And he said, Frank, you know what? Can I just show you what I'm working? Winning the NHC is one of the toughest things you could do. And if you've ever been there, it's a grind. It is hard work. Hard work. 3 grueling days to play the tournament. But not only that, the whole week leading up to it, you're handicapping 20 different racetracks. You don't know if slops coming or whatever. John decided after he won, you know what, Frank? I love this game. Give everything to it, but I want to work smarter, not harder. And he teamed up with some really, really sharp people. And John worked for IBM for a long time, so he knew that side of gathering information. He knew how to manage people, and he put a team together, and he created what is now OptixEQ. And I remember during the beta stage, how this platform has evolved is just remarkable. It started off, and we'll see this, it started off as just a visual representation of not only the pace of the race, but the race shape and the race flow, based on first call, second call, and then a horse's finishing ability. And then from there, John wasn't satisfied. He said, you know what, there's a lot more we can do with this. This is going to be the handicapping platform of the future. And he's done it. And I'm a loyal follower, loyal handicapper. And when you told me you wanted to learn a little bit more about it, I was like, I'm all in, man. Sign me up. Let's do it. Even though it's the FairGrounds, which I know hardly anything about. But that's the point, right? This platform allows you to cover circuits that you may never have played before.
And cover them with a fair amount of certainty, giving you an idea, a visualization more than anything of how the race is going to shape up, what horses are going to have the best kind of early pace, what horses are the best finishers, all the way included through, having trip notes, we're going to get into it, but there's tons of detail here. That's for anybody looking to sign up, OptixEQ.com. The link will be in the description for the video. I will throw let me get back to the correct homepage here, but I'll get to throwing up OptixEQ on the screen now for everybody. So we can see this is just kind of the first page you get brought to. But Frank, I know we wanted to walk through, if we start with a new system like this, we got to find out how to use it first. And I would assume there's no better way than going to info.
Yeah, like with anything in horse racing, the barrier to entry is great, right? Everything seems overwhelming at first, but once you put your training wheels on, work through something, take the training wheels off, you're fine. Optix is actually way more easy to use than most data providers out there. But if you really want to feel your way through it, you go to info. There's detailed data on every feature that that the platform has. There's a quick reference. There's also a detailed reference. So, and I'll also put this out there. If anyone watching and listening has any follow-up questions and wants to learn more, at Scatoni Short Shot, my DMs are open. Please hit me up. It's funny when I had both you, Ryan, and Jackson on my shows, and we talked about, hey, what's your origin story? How'd you get into handicapping? And both of you guys are sitting there with the newspaper racing form and a pen, and I'm going, I loved it. I absolutely loved it, because you're a younger generation, but you understand that you need to have a fundamental basis in handicapping, right? That's how I grew up. But at the same time, there's so much good stuff out there, especially with Optix, that you want to have a little bit of an edge, right? You look at the forum, a lot of people see the same thing you guys do, but you guys are better handicappers than them, so you see things differently. You do the work, you do the trip notes, all that stuff. Me, I got one-stop shopping all in here, but I was just so shocked when you guys, I was expecting to be like, oh, I've got this proprietary computer algorithm that me and my friends from college put together, and that's how we do it. But no, old school, and I love that. Don't get me wrong. I still do my old school handicapping just because I enjoy it. I absolutely enjoy it, but I don't need it. I could just use Optix and I'd be perfectly fine, but I like the process. I like my process.
Absolutely. The process is, that's what makes it fun, at least for me, Jackson. I'm sure you can agree.
100%. 100%.
Yeah.
I'm excited about this. I've heard a lot about it, and I don't really know how to use it. My very basic knowledge is that, I don't even know if this is true. This is what someone told me like 3 years ago, and this is all I know, is that on the visual thing, you want the squares and you don't want the circles. Is that about right?
Yeah, if you want to be reductive about it, absolutely. If that's the one thing you take away from this whole seminar, absolutely. Big squares good, big circles bad.
That's as far as my knowledge goes on it. So I'm excited to learn a little bit more about it.
Well, Jackson, you're certainly going to get to learn some more about it, as am I. Yeah, Frank, when I first met you, obviously I had the paper form, and then Jackson, I saw you on Frank's seminar. You also had the paper form, and then shortly after that, I reached out knowing that you're kind of my people after that, just, an old by-the-book guy. And then, yeah, Frank, at BCBC, I walk in, I'm walking around the BCBC rooms, and I see your computer's up or your iPad's up, and you have these big squares and circles all over your screen. And I was like, I got to find out more because our first conversation at the Del Mar party before their summer meet started, you gave me a brief kind of overview about OptixEQ and if I was familiar, and I wasn't. And then I saw, firsthand what you're looking at, and I was like, this is going to be great. If I can learn more, if you can kind of teach everybody and help us all kind of, better our knowledge of this game.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. We can just do a little crash course on OptixEQ. And like I said, if you guys or anybody else out there has follow-up questions, I am wide open. I mean, I am so passionate about this. And the beautiful thing, so like looking at you can put 10 people in the room and give them a racing form. They're all going to come up with a different horse, right? Same thing with Optix. It's all about how you interpret the information and what's important to you as a handicapper. Some people might use the platform just for pace analysis and race shape. Others might use it for just the trip keywords and the notes. I like to use it holistically. Sometimes I like doing a deep dive on a horse or a certain type of race shape. There's something for everyone.
Absolutely. And I'm super excited to get on into this. Obviously, you're super in depth with having reference guides, whether, again, quick reference or a detailed or in video form of how everybody can use these. So I'm excited to kind of get in there and have everybody kind of learn something new today. So first thing, we'll just open it up. I'll go over to the 21st for FairGrounds, which is what we're going to be covering today. Do you want to just kind of walk us through these first set of buttons up here?
Yeah, so when you eventually get into the race selector screen, you're given a menu. You'll have some drop-down menus, the dates, the tracks, whatever you want. Those top three buttons there, Optix Focus, Optix Scan, and Optix ROD, are so unique and so valuable. We'll talk about Optix Focus a little bit later on, but Optix Scan is a way for you to put in certain parameters based on race shape. If you want to see whatever races that day are going to have a fast pace, you can sort it out. Any race that's going to have a slow pace, you can sort it out. Narrow down the types of races where you think you might have an edge. So that's what Scan is. It's all about narrowing down certain types of races based on race shape. But OptixROD takes it a step further. That narrows down the horses. So let's say all you want to do, you're busy, you got Christmas shopping to do, but you still need a little bit of an edge. While you're at the mall, you still want to look at a race coming up. You want to have a little action. You go to OptixROD, you put in your parameters. You only want to look for horses who have a big square in quadrant 1 in a race where they have a pace advantage. And that'll give you, there might be no horses that day that fit that criteria. There might be 5 of them. And then based on that, you could do it's like attrition. You could narrow it down. You could do a little deeper dive into those races and see if you have an edge. Look, guys, I mean, we like the action. We like to have fun. When we're out there at Del Mar, we want to play every race, but you do that, you're going to get buried. So if you want a little action and you want to narrow things down, OptixROD is a great place to start. But it's also great in tournaments. Like, you're playing all these circuits from all over. It's so hard. You only have so much bandwidth. So you can use those 2 features to really narrow down specific races and specific horses that you want to go into more of a deep dive with. So those are those 2 buttons. And then if you scroll down, you just see the card. And I think you want to start with race 9, right, Ryan?
Yeah, we're going to start with race 9. So we're going to click on plot, and that's going to take us right here. And we're going to focus mainly to start off on these left, on this far left, left plot, excuse me.
So the far left plot is Optix plot standard. It takes the last few races, no matter what distance or surface, and just plots the horses based on the algorithm on those races. What's more important is if you look to the right, it's surface distance. It'll take today's surface, which is dirt, and today's distance, which is mile 70, whatever it is, and put the horses relative to each other based on their races on the surface and on the distance. And this is absolutely valuable. Now, keep in mind, sometimes not every horse will fit that. We might have a horse from overseas or whatever. Those horses will show up on the side. They won't plot, but we've had a great plot here in terms of every horse has run on the dirt. Every horse has run, a mile and 70. So that's what we want to look at first. And when I told you about visual handicapping, that's what this is all about. And you're going to train your muscle memory in your eyes to just gravitate towards certain horses that you have a success with. So right away, the thing that leaps out, and I'm sure to no one's surprise, is the morning line favorite. That's number 7, and that's Saudi Crown. Typically, when you see a big square in the forward position, that's a good thing. But can I just explain to you guys how to look at it visually?
I would love that.
Yeah. So I know I'm talking because I have the experience, but so the 2 ways you want to look at the plot, you want to train your eyes. You first want to look at the plot from left to right along that middle axis, right? So that's the horses where they should be at the first point of call. So you have the 1 hustling to the lead on the inside, but being pressed by the 8, being pressed by the 7, 3, 4, and 6 are kind of behind them, stalking, and then the 2 and the 5 are off the pace, tracking. Maybe the 2 is a little closer than the 5. So that's how it should look at the first point of call. Then if you want to, which is really important, the second point of call, which is when the race really starts to, unfold, you want to, the horses remain the same on the plot, but you want to change your perspective, right? Instead of looking left to right, you want to look on a diagonal. You want to look top left to bottom right. So now if you train your eye to look at the horses that way, you'll see that the 7 is actually, the 1 is still a little bit, the 7 and 8 are a little bit ahead of the 1. They're all 3 in a line. They're pressing each other. The 3 is chasing, the 4 is chasing. The 6 is tracking in a good position with good finishing ability. The 2 is off the pace, hoping that those 3, duel each other into submission and fall apart. Not great finishing ability, but, if we dig a little deeper, it's a late season 3-year-old, has room for improvement, etc. And then the 5, even though the 5, has some positives, not necessarily a good plot for the 5 because he's going to be chasing from off the pace and he's going to have a lot of work to do and he's a circle. So automatically you're going to think the 2, the 6, and the 7 have more finishing ability than the 5. Does that make sense, guys?
It does. Yeah, I'm with you so far.
Okay. So that's how you look at the race. So you want to look at the first point of call, left to right, second point of call diagonally, and then the finish of the race. The bigger the square, the strongest finishing ability. The bigger the circle, the less finishing ability. That's not saying that these horses with big circles can't win. You have to dig a little deeper, form cycle, trip notes, all that kind of stuff. But this right away, if the only thing you took away from this was I know how to read the plot and I'll be able to focus in on horses who I think are contenders, you're doing great. It's already worth the price of admission.
Absolutely, without a doubt. And just obviously, I'm going to, bit of a pun, but the optics of this is really cool. Being able to read first point of call left to right, and then you just change your perspective for the second point of call. Now just reading top left to bottom right. That definitely gives a completely different view and a completely new view on how to kind of just take into perspective the pace scenario, where these horses are going to be, and obviously which ones are going to have the best finishing power, looking like the 7 in terms of the front runners and the 6 for those that are off the pace. Those big boxes are green flags.
And I would even say the 2, because if you look at the standard, the 2 has a big box on the standard plot to the left. Mm-hmm. So even though it's a little smaller on surface distance, I'll give that horse a little more credit based on what I said. It's a late season 3-year-old trained by Brad Cox, and the race could possibly set up for him. Can I just walk 2 quick things?
Whatever you need.
If you look up where the race conditions were, if you scroll up a little bit, if you look underneath there, you'll see plot fit, contention, and speed rate. That'll give you an idea of how serious you want to get involved in a race. So plot fit means that there's a little bit of deviation when you go from standard to surface distance. Horses either change shapes or they move positions. So when you have a red plot fit, it's still usable, but it's not as strong as a yellow or a green. So we rate the plot fits based on how they plot out on the standard. So you see a green, you know that all the information you have, all the horses are very similar. And you'll see that like a place like Woodbine, where the horses run at the same class level against each other over and over and over again. So all the information you have is pretty good. Mm-hmm. Horses from Europe, horses first time start, sometimes the plot fits red, and it's red in this case because you see the 7. The 7 is a circle and then turns into a square based on surface distance. So that just lets you know, hey, pay attention to that. Then you have contention. Contention means, are there going to be a lot of horses contending for the lead? Not necessarily going fast, but contending. So if you have 3 or 4 horses, like in this case, the 1, 8, and 7, they all like to be kind of forwardly placed at the half. So they're contending for the lead. They might be going slow, but they're using energy kind of fighting against each other, right? So that's something to consider. You got a sun, that means it's contentious. And then it's like middle. A fire is very, very fast, and then a snowflake is not contentious. Mm-hmm. So, and then if you look to the right, that's speed rate. That's actually how fast they're going. So 38 is pretty modest. If you see a 70 or a 75, you know they're going to be going guns a-blazing, and you absolutely want a closer in that race. So that's just another little tool you can use to get an idea of what the race shape is.
That's awesome insight. And just to piggyback off of that, I'll throw kind of an example your way. So we'll take this, we'll look at the plot on the right-hand side. Obviously, yep. Saudi Crown seems to have the best finishing ability of those front runners. We see it's only a 38 kind of speed rate projection, Right. And so safe to assume Saudi Crown is probably going to be the strongest finisher of those. However, if we saw a speed rate up maybe, in the 80s, would you maybe then turn your focus towards the 6 or perhaps even the 2 who have those squares that are coming from farther back?
100%. I would absolutely, and I'm actually considering them now because I do see the 1, 8, and the 7 lining up. And you dig a little deeper, the 1 has no choice but to go from the rail, right? So the 1's got to mm-hmm. go. Saudi Crown likes to be in the mix. Saudi Crown's a fast and talented horse. Even if the 8 isn't fast enough to keep up with them, can't you see the 1 and the 7 just ding-donging with each other?
Without doubt.
So yeah, and then one of them will prevail. On the plot, it looks like the 7 will prevail. But again, like I said, this is just a starting point. You got to dig a little deeper. So if you look to the right, you'll see what's called, it's a modified grid, a mini grid. It's basically the horse's last 3 run lines. So you want to look a little differently, right? So this horse just ran 7 furlongs, right? Now stretching out. Even though the horse is a circle, you have to figure the horse is ready to move forward based on that alone, right? Ran in the Kentucky Derby, which we all know is the first Saturday in May, came off a long layoff, right? Clearly that was a prep race, right? Got whatever the horse wanted to get out of it, and now it's go time. So that's what I'm saying. Like, this is a complete handicapping platform. So you want to dig a little deeper here. If you don't mind, Ryan, hover over that little cloud. It looks like a little blue message bubble. If there are detailed trip analysis for the race, you will see that come up by the trip takers at OptixEQ. If you don't see that, then you have all these keywords to rely on. And like I said, it's visual handicapping. The more red you see, the more negatives. Again, you can't take it in a vacuum. It's contextual. Yes, this horse got a perfect trip and lost, but conventional wisdom says that was probably a prep at 7 furlongs for this. But anyway, so you can see all these keywords. You want to look for green keywords always. Green keywords are very important. So like look at number 5, for example, better than look. So the trip note taker tells you that the top 2 were together at the wire, just giving you an idea of how the race unfolded. But this horse ran better than looked and closed and was sprinting. So if you're lazy and you're trying to make a case for a 30-to-1 shot, there are way worse cases to make than a better than look optics keyword 30-to-1 shot. And this is a horse I would absolutely throw in my trifectas. I won't bet this horse to win, or probably not good enough to even hit the board. But with that note, based on the 6 furlongs to the stretch out, that tells me that I might use that horse underneath in my trifectas.
Without a doubt. And real quick, while we're just kind of sticking on the notes, we can look down at number 7 and 8, 7 Saudi Crown comes off. You get a red trip note of easy lead. Obviously the next race was in the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile, but didn't really run well at all in that race. Wasn't able to stay forward for very long and just kind of faded out of the picture. And then number 8, Bo Cruz, you see, regress with a question mark in that last 2-back effort. And then did regress and comes back. So again, out of that same Happy American race where you have the green better than looks angle. So those trip notes are certainly something that you can look at moving forward and use, with a good, fair bit of confidence, I would assume.
Yeah, I don't have a super strong opinion in this race. I think Saudi Crown is obviously the one to beat. But if you were trying to poke holes, go back to the Saudi Crown line, you absolutely can. I mean, C in the Breeders' Cup, fine, no problem. You can forgive it. Then that, easy lead, who knows what the horse beat in that race. Didn't gallop out. You see that gallop minus, didn't really gallop out that well in that race. Then if you go back to the Godolphin Mile, granted it was a long time ago and it was overseas, but shorter. This horse might be a 7 furlong horse, a one turn miler. Just something to keep in mind. You know what I mean? If you're trying to poke holes, I trust Brad Cox to bring this horse in the right spot. But there is also a world in which this is a prep, right? This is a listed stakes. It's not a graded stakes race. So that's the other thing about optics. You totally poke holes at favorites based on something like that. You see a lot of red. You see some questionable, shorter, one turn, gallop minus. That might give you the inclination to look elsewhere. And like I said, this is like any other handicapping platform. It's up to the user to decide what to do with the information. How important is each bit of information based on your opinion of the race. So again, I think Saudi Crown's probably the one to win. I think Track Phantom's going to run well. If 1 and 7, if they fight tooth and nail, I think the 2 has a tremendous shot. Late season 3-year-old. I know the horse got a good ride last time, that Tactic Plus, but has done absolutely nothing wrong. We see these kinds of horses just step up and improve. The other Brad Cox, so to speak,
Absolutely. And obviously I know this, everybody watching, thanks for tuning in. This is probably a ton of information, but the more you look at it, this is just, my second or third day being able to look at this, and I'm already getting a better grasp of it. The more I just kind of see it, and you having us walk through it certainly helps a lot. And then, just off of first impressions, I think number 2 Kinetic has the most, that we can look forward to. The most potential is the Brad Cox horse, who's gone through all of his conditions leading into this race. So he's just kind of worked up to this. He did sit a really nice trip, but some horses just kind of are able to make that trip work for themselves. And maybe we haven't seen the best. And Saudi Crowns maybe at the tail end of what has been a pretty, tough year for him. He shipped from overseas. He ran in the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile, where there was a ton of other pace in there, and he wasn't even able to get to the lead in there. So he might be maybe towards the end of his season, where a horse like Kinetic is maybe moving forward into the handicap division moving forward, or maybe just, sticking at the mile. But it is a lot of great information. And I know you mentioned that this is kind of the condensed chart. Would there be a way where I could view the full past performances for these horses?
Yes. First off, I apologize for the data dump. I know there's a lot. It sounds like a lot, but the more you play around with it, the more intuitive it is. And like I said, your eyes will gravitate towards certain things: green, red, squares, circles, positions, all that stuff. 2 things I want to point out just real quickly, Ryan. I'm sorry, before I show you the full PPs.
Everything.
If you look at looking at the past run lines, if you just look at the headers, those are all pretty self-explanatory. But then you get to ONG, that's Optics Note Grade. That is the expert trip taker's opinion of how well the horse ran in that race. So it's based on a letter grade. So if you see like an A or an A-, that's rare. That means that horse is special. That's like flight line territory. Most winners will get a B based on their performance, but you might see, like with Warrior Johnny, you see a B+. The trip note taker was very impressed by that race. That horse ran a very good race, a B+ type of race. So that's important to look for. And again, though, you have to keep in mind that's based on the class level. If you see a horse who's running B, 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 and then a C, but jumped in class, you can kind of forgive it. You know what I mean? So you have to understand the nuances of that. And then the Optics Fig, just like the Beyer speed figure, but Optics has its own proprietary algorithm to do their own speed figures. So that's what those are. Again, if you're just looking for simple things, look for speed figures. And if you just scroll to the left just a little bit, Ryan, I want to go back to that. Right above the plot, right above, you'll see Optics Fig range, 101 to 95. Do you see that right there?
Right here.
That will give you an idea of what a horse needs to run to win this race. So has the horse run between those figures before? If not, is that horse cycling up to a career performance?
Fantastic information there. Question I have, just based off of the speed figures. Obviously, Timeform US, Beyer speed figure, ones that people use, Brisnet speed ratings, everything like that. Sure. And they're all based on their own algorithms. The kind of rough, I would say, calculation people use is Timeform minus around 14, give or take, is kind of what you get to the Beyer. Is there any sort of comparison like that one could use if you're comparing speed figure to speed figure to kind of get a better grasp?
I don't know what goes into the algorithm. I'm not the math. I don't. Yeah. Like when I see Timeform European ratings, I'll do minus 13 or 14 to get the Beyer. I just trust these implicitly. So nice. These are the speed figures that I use. And the reason why I like these more, and I'm not saying the Beyers are bad or the Brisnet figures are bad. They're all very good. It's just that I feel like I have a little bit of an edge using this based on everything else I'm seeing.
Absolutely. I would say just based on the information, in addition to trip notes, which are always important, the alerts, you have so many different analytical advantages that you can kind of dive into. We obviously don't have enough time to go into every single nuance, but you can see just on the screen here, we could easily spend an hour just on this race, probably just talking about Saudi Crown or just about Kinetic or any one of these horses. So the amount of information present, in addition to your own speed figure, certainly gives you what could prove to most definitely be an edge over the competition with the amount of information provided.
Yes, and that was a very long-winded way of getting around to what you actually asked me. You wanted lifetime PPs.
Yes.
If you go to Optics Grid Notes, click on that. and that'll take you to a more conventional looking PP where everything's kind of linear. You could hide some categories. You could tailor. That's the other thing about this platform. Everything is fully dynamic. You could hide all these categories and just have speed figure, trip note grade, and brisk prime rating. Whatever you want to see, you could, and you could do a filter. I only want to see this horse's races going a route. Yeah, do that. Just go to this race. Go to go to OptixEQ filters. And oh no, I'm sorry. Go back to this race. Sorry.
No, you're fine.
Let's go to today's surface distance. Track surface distance. Oh yeah, that's fine. And now you see you see all the horses, all their fairground races, just right there. Boom. So this horse might have a good race at this track and distance buried. And if you're looking at the printed form, I mean, I love Formulator, I use it, but I only look at the last 12 run lines when I'm looking at it. I'm not looking at a horse who has 40 starts. But if you use this, you can filter it easily and say, oh my God, this horse actually, when the horse was a 3-year-old, before they shipped the horse, to another circuit, this horse actually did really well here. So that's what I mean. You could play around. You could sort just by class level, just stakes races. If you scroll, keep going to the right, you'll see a lot of other stuff. You can get all the way to the end and get the BriskNet data. Like I said, it looks very overwhelming, but you will be able to tailor these PPs based on what information is important to you.
Absolutely. This is an incredible wealth of information that you can get here just for the full exited, but just for all of the information that you can get per race. And as we're in the grid notes here, and I can go back, and it is obviously very cool that we're able to filter today's track surface and distance. You see that there are a bunch of common runners coming out of the Tenacious that is the race that we're looking at. That's the race that's coming up. Excuse me.
Yeah, the highlighted one is the first race, but then you see
highlighted one is the race coming up. You have runners coming out of the Lecomte. You see Track Phantom has 2 really good runs at today's track surface and distance. So maybe we take that into account with our handicapping. But that is an incredible wealth of knowledge and information.
Yeah, those are the quick buttons, but you can also go above each field and do greater than 120 days or something like that. So you see these fields above class and purse and age and all that stuff. If you click on that, also you can sort up and down based on that. If you want to just do speed figures, go OFR or go Fig. Click on Fig.
Yep.
No, click down on the category. Yeah, click on and you can sort ascending, descending based on Figs. And you look based on your, whatever you narrowed it down to.
Right. Amazing. Again, anybody and everybody that's watching, 1, thanks for tuning in. 2, don't try not to get overwhelmed by all of the information we're throwing at you. No, not at all, Frank. This is perfect because this is live, and you can go back and you can watch it whenever you need. And we're basically giving you a walkthrough tutorial of everything that you need to see, everything that you need to kind of look at and take into account. You can slow it down to halftime speed. If your brain somehow processes faster than Frank, me, and Jackson, then 2 times speed this thing, and you can absorb all of this really useful information. The next thing I want to talk about, Frank, is up here at the top. This summary and what this tool can be used for.
Again, this is visual, so this is just based on the summary numbers, based on algorithm is just based on speed, plot, and class, basic fundamentals of handicapping. And if you're just looking at that, you will see obviously the higher the bar, the better; the lower the bar, the worse. So you can see Warrior Johnny. I mean, at his morning line, he's a pretty good price. I didn't particularly like him, but if you're looking at the summary, good speed, good class. Okay, keep going to the right. Velociter, good plot. Saudi Crown, good plot, good class. And that's just a summary of the race based on the horses in the race. You could, again, we talked about this before the show, Ryan. You could do a deep dive. You can go to class ratings, which actually I really like to use, especially when I'm handicapping another
We'll use that. And for anybody that wasn't able to see, I just clicked on this here, and this has a drop-down menu. I don't know if you're able to see that on the share screen, but I have speed figs, class rating, race rating, jockey trainer, plot, purse, pedigree, horse record, and then summary, which we just looked at.
Yeah, and all the categories are below. If you think some of them aren't useful to you, you just hide all of them. So you basically click the hide button. You're starting from scratch, and then you just click on the ones you like. Let's just say you want to know who has the best brisk prime power ranking. Click on that, and that'll give you an idea. Again, Warrior Johnny keeps showing up. Maybe I've overlooked Warrior Johnny. Jackson, who do you like in this race?
I like the 7.
Saudi Crown.
I saw the square and I saw him forward. So he's fast early and he's fast late. That's good enough for me.
Yeah, it's good. That's it. Move on. I love it.
No, but
again, like I said, it's all visual, guys.
Like you talked about earlier, Frank, like if you were playing in the NHC and you have to handicap 80 races in 2 hours or 3 hours, and this is a way to do it a lot faster than looking at 80 PPs at the same time,
And you could, like I said, you could use sorts. Hey, I just want to look for, you notice early in the day at the NHC that Oakland Park is closer friendly.
Right.
You could do a sort. I want all the big squares in quadrant 4 at Oaklawn. Boom. Here it is. 20-1, 30-1, 12-1. These are my play. I mean, if you want to do it that, like I said, it has something for everyone, and you get whatever you want out of the platform based on what your needs are.
Absolutely, and I think a really cool part of all of this is the ability to have these customization features. So, like, we're hiding everything but the Brisnet power rating or prime power rating. And with all this information, if you just want to consolidate it into things that you want to see and things that only you care about, or look at it one at a time, you have the ability to do so. Through any of the metrics that we look at, whether it's looking at the class ratings of the last few ratings, or again the Brisnet power, or down here we can filter through anything and everything that we could pretty much ever dream of in terms of what angle you want to handicap with. You can filter it, you can get it down to the specifics that you like.
Ryan, you nailed it. That was one of the things that was very important to John when he built the platform. It wasn't just about the data. It was about being able to manipulate and sort the data and filter the data based on what you want out of a race, or how you want to look at a race, or what your strengths are as a handicapper. You know what I mean? So thank you for pointing that out, because that's exactly why this is so dynamic and so visual. And so it's basically a user-based platform, right? It's all about the end user. There's a lot of great data in here, but you and I could sit down and we could play with that data completely differently and yet still come up with the same horse.
Absolutely. And, maybe, we end up on the same page as Jackson. We end up with Saudi Crown, best, in front early, best finishing power late. And it's as simple as that. Maybe Jackson took 2 minutes to get there, and I took an hour and a half because I dug through pages and pages of the information. But either way, you're still getting to that same conclusion, which is great. And again, the dynamic customization that this website offers is fantastic. It gives you, obviously, at first glance, maybe the amount of information is overwhelming, but you can consolidate it to only what you care about, and you can expand from there. And you can find any and every angle that I think a handicapper could dream of, pretty much.
Yeah, and the best thing about it, like Jackson said, I see the big square, Saudi Crown, move on. But okay, so now you look at the exactas. We found a better than looked at 30-1, and then we found someone else who was a little sneaky at another price. So there's your exacta. You cold deck a Saudi Crown, whoever it was. It was scroll down. Who had the BTL? Happy American or whatever?
Happy American.
Saudi Crown, Happy American, and Saudi Crown Warrior Johnny, who had those good V-bar lines. But done. 6-1, 30-1 underneath your favorite. You whack that, you hit it. That's pretty good. That's a pretty good payday with a 9-5 shot.
It absolutely is. That is race number 9. Again, we're going 8.5 furlongs, $100,000 we can see on the plot here. I do want to go to the next race here, race number 10, if that's good with you, because we're going on to the turf. Maybe we see something different. We can get a bit of a different look. And then, of course, race number 11, we have something else really special in store that we'll get to kind of take a look at and view. But we'll break this one down first. We're going 8.5 furlongs on the turf. We're in a non-graded stakes, $100,000 for 3-year-olds and up. So looking at this For the first time, I see, the 1 and the 3 are going to be towards the lead. But by the second point of call, maybe the 5 is pressing to the outside here with some closers waiting in the wings.
Absolutely. This is boom. Now you have an idea of how the race is going to be run. Now you can dig a little deeper. If you scroll up just a little bit, Ryan, if you don't mind, you'll see this plot fit is green. So this is pretty good. There's not a lot change from standard to surface distance. That's very reliable. Like what you see is what you get from these horses, which is very important. Then again, you have a somewhat contentious pace, not super fast, but you have at least 2 horses who are going to vie for the early lead. And then at the second point of call with surface distance, the 5 is going to be up there too, 1, 3, 5. But the speed rate, 29, not that fast. But when you have 3 horses fighting each other, even if it's a slow pace, it doesn't matter. It's going to set it up from someone off. And it's very hard for me to look beyond the 2. Gigante, obviously 9 to 5. Big square right in the middle of the plot. That is the sweet spot. I'm going to give you a trade secret. If you scroll through and find a big square right smack in the middle, that's your horse. Those horses fire every time. They win a lot of the time. He's not quite in the middle, but pretty good. I'm not telling you anything you don't know. Is 9 to 5 shot. If you look at the 7 is in a really good spot on standard. Loses a little finishing ability on surface distance. We'll have to dig a little deeper on that. You guys can do that on your own time to kind of figure out why. Maybe coming out of slightly less classy races or tracks that may have been favoring that kind of run style. You see the 6 is going to be very far back. Can the 6 get up there in time? Looking at this, there's no way the 6 is going to outkick the 2, right? Unless somehow the jockey's aggressive and has a 6 in front of the 2 based on the plot. There's a horse in here that I want to look at though. That's kind of unconventional to the plot, and that's the 5. And the reason I want to look at it is if you mentioned before, Ryan, if you want to see the horse's lifetime PPs, let's start there first, if you don't mind. Go to the grid.
Oh, whoops.
Actually, you know what? Go to the plot and just click on the 5. Click on the wrong race.
Yep, run to the yep.
It's all right. Click on the 5. Yep, and then this horse's PPs just show up. All you gotta do is click on it, and it comes right up. So if you go back in the day, where do we got? This horse won. Am I looking at the right? Yeah, this horse won the Wise Dam. This was grade 2 winner. This horse has graded stakes form from back in the day. This horse has some quality to him, right? So that makes me think that, maybe the bubble isn't the big balloon. You got to do a deeper dive, right? So close out of that. So if you're being lazy, you're just using the run line screen. Let's go to the 5. To the right, the run line. Yeah. Look, C+, C+. That's pretty bad, right? 80, 81, that's below par. That's pretty bad. But look at the keywords. Tactic minus. That means the jockey didn't do that great of a job, according to the trip note taker. Traffic. Horse had traffic. Wide. The horse was wide. The horse made a move. Okay. Finished 7th. Bad buyer, bad grade. But the trip note taker thinks this horse could improve and thinks that it might be a prep. And that was in a 5.5 furlong sprint. This horse is also entered in a 5.5 furlong sprint on Saturday. I think he will race here. And I think this horse will outrun the 12 to 1 odds. With all that back class and all those excuses, even the third race back, no cover, no keep. Turf horses like to race with cover. Okay. And no keep means the horse didn't really get hold of the ground. So maybe the horse doesn't like Churchill, whatever it is. There's enough.
You wouldn't be the only one.
Right? There's enough reasons here for me to really be curious in the 12 to 1. And I know it sounds crazy because if we looked at the plot, he's a big circle contesting a pace with 3 other horses.
Right.
But like I said, you can't take everything. You can if you want to be lazy. But to me, this 5 horse has some sneaky long shot ability. I think 2 Gigante wins. I think the 5 outruns the odds. And then you have to consider the Michael Maker horse, the 3, just because he claimed the horse. And, he claims horses and turns them into stakes horses. You won't see that here, but you'll see that in the grid run line. all the other form is irrelevant. The plot's irrelevant. The fact that Michael Maker claimed the horse and runs in a stakes race, that's really the only thing that matters. But the horse is 3-1, not great value. I would take the 5 over the 3 any day of the week at those prices.
Absolutely. And then, as you mentioned, the number 2 Gigante looks probably the horse to beat, being that big square in the middle of the plot, as you mentioned. That's kind of all systems go, if you will, when you're looking at one of these. All right, that's race number 10, and then for
Jackson,
race number,
who do you like, Jackson?
Yeah.
Come on.
Oh yeah, Jackson.
You can't keep them to yourself. You got to share.
Well, full disclosure, I already made up my mind about this race. I'm playing in a FairGrounds contest on Saturday, and I was planning on going all in on Gigante no matter what. And the fact that you said he's right smack in the middle just makes me even more confident. So
okay,
feel good.
So this is the live bankroll contest that you're playing.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Well, good luck.
Love it. Obviously.
Let's hope we're all right.
Let's hope we're all right.
Let's hope we're all right, and let's get them all home. So
I just hope I get 5. I don't think you will, but I really hope
that feels like a gift. But
yeah, no way 9 to 5. No way.
Not with Jose on board the way he's been riding.
Yeah, maybe 4 to 5.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. All right, that's race number 10. We're going a mile and a 16th on the turf for those 3-year-olds and up. Frank, for race number 11, I know that we wanted to touch on something else, and I see the option to click on and look at it right now, an option that wasn't there for the previous ones, but is here. I'm talking about the Optic Focus.
Yes, that is another feature of the platform. The various race watchers and data people for optics, every once in a while, they will do their own analysis and their own opinion of the race. And right now, this is something that's being offered to the subscribers, but it's based on someone else's opinion. In the future, this will be dynamic as well, where you will be able to input your own data and tweak your own race analysis to give you an idea of how you want to play the race. So I didn't have a strong opinion in this race. There were a bunch of 2-year-olds. Just a little reminder here. OptixEQ does what they call the Road to the Kentucky Derby. They will analyze and track every one of the 2-year-old races and the 3-year-old races. There's a special spot on the website for that. You can click on that and dig deep. Of course, this is a 2-year-old race with implications for the Louisiana Derby coming up next year in 5 months or whatever it is.
Right.
So we want to pay attention here with these 2-year-olds. Look at Optic Focus, and we will see a whole other set of information.
It's okay. We're still sticking with you. We got it. And then, of course, anybody that needs to, maybe take it a half step slower, that wants to reabsorb that information, just hit the left side of your screen a couple times. We'll go back however many seconds. You can slow us down in the speed that we talk, and you can kind of go through it. You can watch this as many times as you need to get a good grasp on it.
Yeah. So this is basically, like I said, this is an added value bonus to subscribers. It's expert analysis from expert optics users. So you put in and again, like I said, this will eventually be made available to the subscribers so they can do their own thing. So I could go in here and put my own race label in. I might love somebody and say this is a bettable race, but this one is considered contentious. You can read why, hard to eliminate, blah blah blah. Confidence level from this expert is 50%, so not something you want to spend a lot of money in. The wager strategy is a value play, looking for a horse who will outrun the morning lines, the morning line odds, and then you play the race accordingly. It's not a single, but it's certainly someone you might want to win bet on and maybe have alive in some doubles. And that's number 8, Drexel Hill. Let's just start with Drexel Hill. Let's just go to the bottom, and I'll just walk you through some of the fields that you'll be able to change. First of all, just look at the comments. So this is our experts' comments, but you'll be able to put your own comments in at some point. You'll be able to put your own keywords in. I've been following this horse. The horse has been training well. The works are great. You got the B+. You can look at all the, basically the last 3 run lines again, and then you could read the comment. No super standout in here. So based on the works and the late kick, you'll see there's a big square. Granted, it's on synthetic, but thinking this horse is going to have you know, a big shot in here. That big 8 right there looks pretty good, especially at a price when there's no super standouts. I mean, if I'm just looking at the plot, I mean, you want to consider the 4 for sure. But you know, the other ones I'm not horses I would want to go to war with. Let's put it that way.
Right. Looking again out here, we have tier 3. We have tier 3 minus as well for some of these with right here. We'll go up to the top because sorry. There was something here. The discrepancy, this edge percentage, as it pertains to morning line and fair odds. What would I assume that's? Yeah.
So there's certain data entry fields that you'll be able to input, and based on your opinion of this horse, it will calculate what your fair odds are for this horse. So based on whatever John put in on his opinion of the race and this horse, generated 3-to-1 fair odds. And the horse is morning line 8. So right now, right away, that tells you that this is the horse this is the value play of the race because it's, you know, plus 126%. It's that green. Now, during the live racing, you'll see those 2 fields, DD. That'll let you know what the daily double pay based on the probables, what the imputed odds are, and then the actual live odds of the horse, and then it will recalculate that edge based on that. So, amazing. So if you find a horse you think is value, and then all of a sudden that edge is red, that horse isn't value anymore. So again, based on John's optics handicapping of the race and the data fields that he put in, I can't show you that because that's for the back end users.
Yes.
But eventually, that's going to be available to the public, and you'll be able to put your own stuff in and generate what your fair odds of the horse will be. And it's based on a realistic line. You know, it's not based on 130 points or something. It's basically 100, 105. So these are very accurate. And trust me when I tell you, it's very, very hard to make good lines when you're doing it properly. So this helps you do it. You don't have to worry about moving numbers and whatnot. You put in your data, and this tells you exactly. This gives you a mathematical reflection of what your opinion is.
That is awesome to have, your opinion then be substantiated by, math on the back end to show how math, which doesn't really lie, how that shows your thoughts. We have this from OptixEQ is in the chat.
Oh yeah, what do we got?
We can you can change your rating now, is what I have.
Let me see. You can change rating now. So let me see. Yeah. Oh, okay. I know what he's saying. You're now. I think he's saying the end user, the customer, is now allowed to put their own rating in, and that will help you. And that gives you a bunch of different categories. Yeah, try it. I mean, well, don't try it because that might change. That might change what gets published. But
yes, so I won't change anything.
you have different levels of contenders, right? You have key horse, tier 1 horses. Then you have. Okay, he says use drop down on the rating, so give it a shot, Ryan.
I'll do it, and I'll change it back.
Probably John. Yeah, we'll change it back, but go ahead.
So let's say this one for me is a horse Exacta Plus that I think that has a very strong chance finishing in the Exacta in this race.
And then look at the odds change, so it's not necessarily the strongest win candidate, but it's now an Exacta candidate, and now it's not necessarily a pick 5 single or necessarily a win bet based on that. But if the daily double and live odds reflect something different on Saturday, that could be a bet. So yeah, you can and just why don't you just do the drop down so we can see all the choices?
I'm opening the drop down right now. I don't know if it's showing up or not.
Right, yeah, I don't see it, but you see.
Okay, then I can walk through real quick just what I'm looking at. Maybe that'll help. But essentially, as we're looking through, you have the 3 different tiers. So tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3. And I have tier 1 plus, tier 1, tier 1 minus. Same thing with tier 2 with plus, neutral, and minus. Same thing with tier 3. Then I have Exacta, Trifecta, Superfecta, all with the plus, the neutral, or the minus next to it, obviously showing your confidence in a horse finishing, maybe just mild confidence in the Exacta, maybe not as confident, all the way up to, a tier 1+ where this horse should be odds on. So an 8-1 would be pretty remarkable to see.
Yeah. And then also you'll see to the right after edge, if you think this is horses an A in the horizontal, you could do vertical, key horses. So yeah, I believe this is John Doyle. Shout out to John. Tier 1, 2, and 3 are all win contenders, but you rank them based on how strong. So, if you're on the ABC system, you might have an A+, an A, and a B+. You know what I mean? So that's how you rate them. And then the algorithm does everything else and does all the math for you.
That's awesome. I'm happy the math gets done for me. Us as handicappers, we do enough math, on our own to come up with calculations. So the fact that it does it, on its own shows you what the fair odds are going to be, shows you the edge that you may have on the betting public based on how you view the horse, is up with live real-time odds and statistics, is just an edge that you really can't find anywhere else. And we're scrolling through, we can see California Sunset, the number 5 morning line is 4.5. The fair odds a little under 4 to 1.
But is that did you change Drexel back?
I did. I changed Drexel Hill back to tier 3.
Very good. Okay, so California Sunset offers a little bit of an edge based on that info.
Yeah, exactly. A little bit of an edge. You got about 10%, while a horse like a Marth, who is an Exacta Plus, using this system, morning line of 3.5 to 1, 7 to 2, fair odds at 10 to 1. You're looking at a minus 61% edge right now. Again, all this will get. Oh, I've been told that it will not. No need to change it back. It does not get saved. Thank you for all the input from OptixEQ. We do appreciate it, Mr. Doyle. That is helpful to know that I'm not changing
you're
something.
You're going to have John on at another point for like a little more of a.
I would love to. We'll get you and John on for a big handicapping card here in the future.
Yeah, that would be fun. That would be a lot of fun.
That would be. We'll strictly use OptixEQ. And yeah, go ahead.
One other thing I want to mention, and this is probably a little bit down the road, and maybe John will put in the chat, but eventually he wants to have this set up so it's pretty automatic, where it even actually suggests wagers for you. Here's nice. Based on your info, and based on your confidence of the race, you want to play a win bet on X horse, an Exacta, 1 with 458, 458, whatever it is. It will actually offer you suggested wagers based on your data.
Future users will be able to save your own odds and analyze results. Incredible stuff coming the way.
Yeah, I mean, that's what John, he's such a revolutionary in the industry, because if he had just stopped at the plot, it would have been amazing. But it continues to evolve and just trying to make things so, make the data and the information available to the users and allow them to manipulate the data however they see fit, right? So give them an edge based on what they do. And constantly evolving. I mean, every time I talk to John, there's something new coming up on the horizon, and everything is always like, wow, let's go. Can't wait.
Right. The ever evolving site that is OptixEQ. I'm happy we got to take some time to really focus in on it. And as we wrap up here, obviously we have to go to my man, Jackson. Jackson, who's your pick in this last race here?
I mean, everything I'm seeing makes it look like it's an impossible race. But if the 8's a big price, I'd go with that horse probably. I got the square. I got my Woodbine angle. So why not?
Yeah. The Woodbine angle for
what's the king Woodbine of Woodbine angle?
Any horse that comes from Woodbine, oh no, is a lock.
Can you guys hear Woodbine?
Computer just
we can hear you. Yeah.
They're super fit. They race on the Tapeta, so they have good foundation. So it's
and they could have easily taken her to Turfway and been fine, but they're showing up here, which I think is pretty interesting.
That's a good point.
It's more traditional, but yeah, that's I don't know. It's the way I see it.
Absolutely. That is a nice deep dive look at OptixEQ. Of course, the link to OptixEQ will be in the description if you want to improve your handicapping analysis. Use the tools that they have available as they keep evolving and introducing new dynamic ways to handicap. Before we wrap this up, Frank, could you explain how subscriptions work? Is it by the card? Is it by the day? How would I go about becoming an OptixEQ member?
Yeah, there are all different tiers of subscriptions. You can find that on the website. There are also a lot of promotions that go out sometimes, during Derby week or Breeders' Cup week, a Del Mar packet, whatever. There's a lot, something for everyone. And, follow at OptixEQ on Twitter because John will blast out if there's any specials going on or any kind of free information that they're giving. They do something called an Optics Green Report, where they, cull the database and give you a listing of every horse who had a green keyword in their last race, which right there is valuable, right? So then you can look a little deeper. You see an improve, you see a prep, you see a turf. These are all good angles that, if you're not following Canterbury, you're not necessarily going to know about, right? So you could see it here, and then you can say, you know what, I'm going to look at race 4 at Canterbury because this horse is 12-1 and it's got a green keyword. So follow at OptixEQ, follow at Scatoni Short Shot. I usually retweet a lot of the optics stuff. But yeah, more importantly, just go to the website. You don't even have to subscribe yet. You can just go through the tutorials. You can go through the FAQs, all that stuff. Familiarize yourself a little bit more with the platform. And like I said, guys, you guys picked it up so intuitively. And that's the whole point. This is for the younger generation of players. I told you, I love that you guys are pen and paper form guys. That's amazing because that's how I learned the game. But this is the future. This is the future of handicapping. It's visual. It relies on eye and muscle memory, and things will pop out. And I call you guys the younger generation, but don't forget, there's going to be a generation, behind you. So
not far behind.
they're not, you know what I mean? So anyway, like I said, it's visual handicapping. There's something for everyone. And that's it. At OptixEQ on Twitter and at Scatoni Short Shot.
I love it. Thank you so much, Frank. That was awesome. I'm certainly going to use it this weekend as I go through FairGrounds, trying to, decipher what and who I want to bet in those races. I might even throw a little Turfway in there just to try and, help me out at that track, because who knows who's going to win each race. So I need all the help I can get at old Turf Prey Park.
I will tell you right now that optics is good for everything, but synthetic tracks, very, very good. It's all about the finishing ability. I mean, they're all bunched up. Who's gonna just
we should
big squares, Woodbine Turfway. Very good.
I like it. I will keep that in mind for sure, because synthetic racing is something that you only really find at a few tracks. So if you can get an edge with your handicapping using a tool like OptixEQ, I'm certainly going to jump at that opportunity. Frank, thank you again. I know you're just kind of getting over being sick, so I know we made you talk a lot there, but thank you so much for going over OptixEQ with Jackson and myself and everybody that tuned in to watch. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, guys. I love that you guys are interested, and thank you for giving me the platform to, kind of walk everyone through, my process when it comes to optics. So thanks, guys.
Absolutely. We will get you, and we'll get Mr. Doyle on in the future. We'll handicap a card using optics. I'm already looking forward to that day, because that's going to be fun to just kind of go through it and watch the two masters at work, kind of go through their site and everything like that. But until next time, thank you, Frank. I really do appreciate it again. I've been Ryan. This is my co-host, Jackson. We went through how to use OptixEQ, the races 9 through 11 at FairGrounds, including a cool look at the optics focus angle. So please rewatch the video if you need to know, more of the details. I know we spat a lot of words at you. I know it's a lot to look at, but you can go in, you can break it down, you can customize it, and don't forget to use that info tab at the top that provides quick references, deep dives into how to use each and every one of the tools OptixEQ provides. Details in the description for how to kind of get started as an OptixEQ subscriber. Subscribe or follow Scatoni Sure Shot on X, follow OptixEQ on X, and until next time.